My guests are in studio with me this morning. Professor Isaac Boydi, he's Dean, Accounting and Finance at UPSA. Andrew Appiah-Dankwa, spokesperson for the Movement for Change. And Osajefo Kwame Nkrumah-Botsio, General Secretary of the CPP. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And you haven't seen you in a while.
Yes.
How have you been?
I'm doing great yourself.
It's good to see you. I'm good. Thank you.
Here.
And I have to say that Prof was the first to arrive today. Thank you so much for shaming me.
But
did you hear the record?
Yeah, the earliest.
No, but
Prof has done well.
Yeah.
no, Prof wasn't the
We are talking about the studio. No problem met outside.
Prof wasn't the
Wait, who came first to the premises? You did. And Prof, you are taking credit for.
You said that.
Anyway, gentlemen, let's get into your thoughts for us this morning. There's a lot happening, and it's Friday, so I'm curious to hear you, Kwame Nkrumah-Botsio. Let's start with you.
You know, there are a lot of positive things happening. However, you know, we in the CPP, we look beyond Ghana to Africa. And it is of great concern what is happening in Sudan. Because at the moment, the civil unrest there for the past 3 years, it has reached a level where they are using drones and they are using very powerful weapons to take out power stations and the like. And the last, I would say, bastion of safety, which is Port Sudan, has also come under fire. And we in the CPP, we are very, very concerned about that. And we hope that the AU will take action as soon as possible. Because to have drone warfare of that magnitude on the African continent, it should be a great cause of concern for all of us. As it is said, when your neighbor's house is on fire, get your water ready. Yeah. So I think it's something that we should all be concerned about.
Right. Thank you. I was just reading that this morning about how the drone attack has cut power in the whole region. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. Andy Appiah-Dankwa.
Yeah, so let me wish your viewers a good morning. Wish all of you a good morning. And well, I think what has been lingering on my mind has to do with the role of principle in politics. I think I want to stay in Ghana for now. The role of principle in politics, or the need for our politicians to be principled. And I'm saying this in the light of the way our politicians easily sway in terms of the positions they've held in the past. I think there are so many examples that I can lay my fingers to. So from the issue in Parliament late last year through to what's it called, the Chief Justice's issue.
When you say the issue in Parliament, you mean the impasse as to whether or not those who were caucusing with those who were part of the majority but wanted to go independent,
exactly,
and that ran into the Supreme Court for great. Right.
The removal of the CJ issue, and then Sami Jemfi's issue. The way politicians find it easy to switch their position, and for me, I think it's a worry, because if there's one fundamental thing I know is that principles don't change. The principles never change. And so if the people who are supposed to be the leaders of our democratic, constitutional democracy, who are supposed to be the vanguards of our democratic principles, have no fidelity to principles, then for me, I think it's a massive worry. It's a massive worry, especially when you consider the purpose of this constitutional democracy, which is the only way in which the rule of law can be guaranteed. So I think for me, the only positive light has been a sense that I'm getting about the people's interest in participating in this democracy. I think for me, that's the confidence, and I'll just urge Ghanaians that the way things are going, they are the only ones who can sustain this democracy. If we leave it to just the leaders who largely do not have principle, then our democracy, in my view, does not really have a future, because if you don't have principle, if there's something that you are ready to stand for, in fact, I dare say like Martin Luther.
But does it not come with a territory? the game of politics. Is that not what it is?
No, the game of politics does not mean that you should not be principled. Yes, so what are they faithful to?
To the party.
No, but you should be.
The posturing of the party.
But the party is based on principle.
Issues.
So the party comes on one leg. So if in fact, it's even dangerous if the political parties whose role, and I'm glad that the General Secretary of one of the strongest parties is here. You understand? Parties are formed on principles and values.
That's true.
You understand? So when somebody says he's CPP, I should be able to predict your position on every issue. So if the parties are going to flip-flop on issues, are going to flip-flop on issues, then where do we stand as the people? Because you form political parties primarily to create a system where the rule of law will be guaranteed. So if the parties don't have any principle, they don't believe in anything, essentially, that's what they don't believe in anything, then SVT,
I'm tempted to say that's ideal but not real. That's what we want, or that's what we think it should be. But in reality, that's not what happens. They only defend whatever principles that's working for them in whatever arguments they are making to win or court favor. From the
when
public.
you go to the democracies that have managed to sustain themselves for over centuries, they have principles. So the case in point is the Joe Biden issue. When the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden it was one issue, it was the Democrats, the party of the president, who were pushing against the pardon, attempted pardon by what was called by Joe Biden. You understand? So in democracies, or if history have taught us one thing, democracies have managed to sustain themselves. They sustain themselves on the basis of principle. Okay. So we cannot, so it's not an ideal situation. You cannot support a system where people just flip-flop on principle. It doesn't work that way.
All right. Prof, your take now.
Well, over the week, I think on the 8th or 9th of May, there was a story with a caption, Ghana record historic gold exports in April. Gold board. An amount of almost 897 gold exported only in 1 month. And I found it a bit puzzling, difficult to understand. Budget with the amount that was allocated to gold board, $279 million or so. And they've been able to export gold of almost $900 million. It's amazing. And I'm sure a lot of us, few think tanks have written to RTI Commission, and we are also to write a few articles on, to let us know where the rest of the funds came from. It's like you borrow 1 cedi to buy Apple, or 100 cedi to buy Apple. You borrowed, and then you'll be able to buy almost, you're supposed to get about 100. But now you are telling us you've gotten about 230 worth of. So where did they get the rest, the difference? Is it that you have, these are should be from the small scale mining. So if you have such a leap, a jump leap, it may suggest about so many things. Did you have some funds, funds coming from the big mining companies joining, or you had a stockpile and you sold and added to? It's difficult to understand that calculation, because 290 something can give you only 2.9 tons of gold.
Okay.
Whereas 800 and almost 900 should give you about 6 tons of gold. So the difference, the 4 tons, where did you get that from?
Okay. So you've written, requested for information for that clarity. Yes. I don't know about the numbers. I don't do well with that. So I'm just going to leave that and say, when you get the information, do well to share with us so we also get clarity on that.
I think I've published something online today.
Okay. Today?
Yeah, today.
I'll look at it. I don't have a newspaper, so I want to do 3 stories from myjoyonline.com, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen. And of course, I want to start with the power crisis, because we heard from the minister yesterday. And they're saying we need $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuel alone. And that story is on myjoyonline.com. The Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, has disclosed that Ghana urgently needs billions of cedis to procure liquid fuel to keep power plants running, warning that the country risks a shutdown if immediate funding is not secured. And I think we had another story at the beginning of this year when he told us that the fuel reserve could only last
2 days.
2 days or so. We are hearing the same thing right now. Yeah. I want you to reflect on this. It's not about me. And I'll go around starting from you again, Kwame Nkrumah.
I followed that story closely. Especially, I heard that we only had enough fuel to last 2.6 days. I don't know, maybe that was 2 days and 6.
And what is the 6 days? Okay, I mean 0.6.
Yeah.
2.6
so maybe
of 24.
2 days
and some hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some hours. But I also heard good news that 450,000 barrels have been secured and payment has been made, and the fuel will be delivered this weekend. So certainly we've averted that disaster. Indeed, it brings to mind what happened at the beginning of the year. And I think the power crisis is something that has bedeviled us for a very long time. And it is one of the things that I have to give the immediate past government credit for. They managed to have relatively stable power for the last few years before they left office. Mm-hmm. I really don't know how the current government was managing it at the beginning, but they seem to be finding their feet. They also stated that
can we really, is that an accurate statement we can make, that they're finding their feet? Well,
they had a lot of difficulty at the beginning. And I, for example, in my neighborhood, there was an instance where I had, my light was off for 3 days continuous. And this is the first time I've had that in a very long time. But I also heard that I think the car power ship was also going to withdraw.
Yeah, in 7 days, Kapua, yeah.
Days. But it has been sorted out.
Has it?
Yes,
okay.
I heard it has been sorted out. So I think we are good to go, because we all know that at least from what I remember, the turning point in our power needs was during the Ameri time. I think the 2016.
Yeah.
2016, that was a real turning point. Before that, our power situation was not so good. After the Ameri power deal, we've had quite stable power, which the minority also benefited from. They also added on. They also did their best. So I think there's not too much to be worried about at the moment. Just at the high cost, the $1.1 billion, where are we going to get that from? That you could say that all the gold that we probably sold in April is going into that. So if every few months or so, I'm not saying the gold will directly go and pay, but you can see that it seems we are not really making enough to keep up with the needs of the country. But right. I believe we will get there. We will get there, and then we are getting there with a drop of the dollar, and currently the economy is becoming more stable. Yes, so I don't think there's much.
Just some details out here, and this is coming from the minister himself. He had a conversation with Evans Mensah on PM Express. In terms of the debts in the sector alone, we are looking at 1.7 billion debts that the government inherited from the energy sector. And in terms of debt portfolios, we have $297 million owed to Asogli, $220 million owed to SNIT, $423 million, all in dollars, to Send Power, $371 million to Kapua, and they are the ones who are threatening to pull out in 7 days. And yeah, that's the total that amounts to 1.7 billion debt. This 1.1 or so they're asking for is just to, show up fuel.
Yes.
And we have debt already existing. So I don't know if we can say that we are making gains. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. But let me hear from our other guests.
Yeah, we are not making gains. We are, and for me, if there was one thing that I was really disappointed with the former government, is how they handled the energy sector. You understand? When you just look at the symptom is you have energy. Then, but when you look at the economy of it, it was a disaster. You see, we will need to place this issue in proper context. The context is that during His Excellency John Mahama's first term, when we had those energy issues and it was a financial issue, he introduced the energy sector levy. And the whole essence of it was that it was supposed to deal with the legacy debts.
Yeah.
Now, when the previous government came, they then collateralized it and then issued bonds. Then they went ahead to initiate the energy sector recovery program. Came out with a comprehensive plan, and the whole essence was, and their target was that by 2023,
those debts would have been cleared.
Dealt with, will be the energy sector will be financially viable. At the beginning of that program, I think our debt hovered around 2 billion, and then you do a comprehensive program. And then by the time you are leaving, it's around 1.7 billion. What have you done? I think you've literally not done anything. So for me, you see, we need to go to the root of this energy issue. We need to tackle the difficult questions. Because let me just give you one issue. Now, one of the core reasons why we always have debts in the energy sector is the losses. Just ECG alone, when they supply, in terms of their recovery, they always lose every year about $200 million. Out of that $200 million, close to about 80% is just from the ministries, departments, and agencies. So we pay, because I think all of us, we've already paid for our electricity.
Yeah.
So why is the state doing this to us?
Yeah.
You understand? Yes, as in, so the issue we're going to face with on Monday, they've handled it, but for how long? We need to tackle the critical issues in that sector.
I heard the minister say, send out a warning that they should pay or they'll be disconnected to, government agencies.
Yes. So we need to deal with the issues, and I advise the current government. I read the Energy Sector Recovery Program, the report, comprehensive report. I hope they shouldn't discard it because it was done under the previous regime. They should have a look at it and see how they can implement it to solve the issues. Because right now they have power. We shouldn't be playing politics with some of it. They should just take their time, review it, and see how best they can use it to solve permanently the issues that we are bedeviled with in that.
No, that's a good point.
Hopefully, if the city is doing so well, it should sort of reduce the amount of money they have to pay, because it's also a big deal, because we're buying all these fuels and other things in dollars, and we are collecting the revenue in cedis. The difference is just is big. Anyway, Prof, over to you.
I have not read the entire statement.
Okay.
I have seen a few words and comments from other people. I've not had the chance of reading the entire article. But if you could also help us, did the minister proffer solution, or was just to give us idea what is going to happen in a few days?
Okay.
It's difficult to understand his statements.
He gave a presser. I don't know if the back room can hear me. Please, if you can give us that presser from yesterday, the sector minister made that statement. So they'll find it and then play it for us later.
When they assumed office, you remember, and you quoted it perfectly by saying that he was the same person who came and then told the whole country that in less than 2 days, the country will be shut down because of energy, power. We are here today. I don't know what will happen. We are still counting the days. He said it yesterday, today and tomorrow. We don't know what will happen. But I don't expect our ministers to come on air, have press conferences, and give us the dark part of our country. It's good to let us know, but give us solutions, because we voted for you to give us solution. If you come and you want to lament.
Okay, so just let's listen to the sector minister and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Today, as I sit here, this morning, my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed order for fuel, but it has to be paid. We've procured some fuel on credit and working with the Ministry of Finance to pay. But the truth is that the Ministry of Finance also has its limits. And so we'll be going to Cabinet to discuss how we can improve on the sector. And that is why we are pushing for some private sector participation in ECG's operations. It does not entirely solve the problem, but it takes us to another level. Because if the collections are reduced from the 40% to say 5%, it means that we'll be collecting more. Cabinet has also adopted a position, and we'll brief you, Chairman. All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, it's the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take the educational institutions, dormitories are not part. Restaurants are not part. Only lecture theaters. And so we've classified that. And Cabinet is granting the approval and will publish that. Even what we term as critical institutions, the Minister of Finance will have to budget for it and pay.
He said that's his headache, Prof. And so they're going back to Cabinet too.
I want you to tell me your headache, because you had solutions before we give you the power to rule over us. You know, we are here to help the country. But when we pass some of these comments in the air, it dents our image, one way or the other. Because when we vote for you, we expect you to give us solutions. Let me come back to the issue itself. Ghana spends 1.1 billion, according to the energy sector report, I think 2024. That's how much we spend. You know, it's not just expenditure on energy, on fuel, imported fuel. Yeah. And it's not just economic burden for me. It is just economic security risk. If a country spends such an amount on imported fuel and liquid fuel also, it's economic security risk. Why? Because if you look at Ghana, where we find ourselves now, if you want to cut down electricity because we are unable to pay, it tells you the number of jobs that will be lost, lives that will be lost. So electricity is something we cannot trade off, honestly. As a country, if you spend 1.1 billion on imported fuel, I was expecting the minister to come and tell us solutions to the problem. One, can we enhance the capacity of domestic refinery in this country? What about renewable energy? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Oh, the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. So I want to believe that the works are ongoing to, transition us into...
That's your belief? I don't know, but tangibles. I want you to tell me what you're doing to enhance the capacity of refinery, your renewable energy policies, implementation phases. Over 40% of our import bill only tied to petroleum products as a country. 40% of our import bill alone tied to petroleum products.
Does it not help that he's identified the key areas that first need to be, sold up so that we can block these leakages, like the critical sectors he was mentioning, the MMDAs and the rest? Does it help?
The previous administration...
Because if you want to solve a problem, first you need to identify and prioritize where your biggest gaps are, then you start to close it up as you go.
I was happy he mentioned that the chickens have come home to roast. What happened? Previous administration did the same thing. They started cutting off power supply to other areas that were not paying the leakages. We had our friends, they bashed the previous administration. Now today, our minister tells us Someone is to identify the critical areas and all. They are going to do the same thing. I think that should not be the approach. My solution, or in my candid opinion, I think our leaders should rather think beyond the box, finding proper solutions to the systemic problem we've had over the years. If a country now spends 40% of import bill on petroleum product alone, then we are finished.
Well, one last story from MindJoyOnline.com, and then we get into your newspapers. Ghana Health Service confirms 2 Mpox cases in Accra. Tragic. Health authorities have confirmed 2 new cases of Mpox in the Accra metropolitan area of the Greater Accra region. Consequently, the GHS has responded by directing all regional health directors to reactivate their public health emergency operations centers. And they're also being urged to step up surveillance, risk communication, and case management efforts across the country. No one wants to wake up to this news. Quick reflections, and then we get into your papers.
Yes, I heard about it. Apparently, these are the first cases that we've recorded this year.
Yeah.
And it's a great cause for concern. However, I have to admit that Ghana Health Service has always been up and doing. Relatively compared to other countries, during the Ebola crisis, we handled it fairly well. During the COVID crisis, we also handled it fairly well. They're always very alert. I mean, it's one of the institutions that we should all take a cue from. And it's a great cause for concern, though, but I believe that they have acted fast. The rest is up to we, the citizens, to also do our bit. Right. And so far, I think we have all done our bit, and then we'll sail through this as well.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. I hear contact tracing is underway, and those 2 cases are not even related.
They're not even related.
But they were identified in the clinic, in the health facilities. Yes. Andy?
Yeah, I think I stand all force with what my brother is saying. And just to add that quickly, if there are any protocols that we need to follow, they need to align them.
True.
And then ensure that we follow them religiously.
Yeah.
So that we can. But I think over the years, if there's one institution in this country that have done really well, is the Ghana Health Service, and I have no doubt that they can lead us in fighting this.
You both are inspiring confidence in the Ghana Health Service. Prof, you too?
I think I share the same opinion. I mean, proactiveness is the key. Yeah. We don't need to wait for it to happen before. We are almost close to June, July, our normal flood and all that is going to happen. Rains will start. We are going to record cholera and the rest. Yeah. So we hope our ministry should be up in terms of their commitment and what they have to do. I'm happy that they've done something about it. Proactiveness is a key. Okay. We want to encourage the rest of our sectors to do the same.
All right. So let's start from the Ghanaian Times newspaper now.
Yeah, so...
okay, so you can give us the headlines and do 3 stories that pique your interest. So
we have get off pavements, footbridges. AMA gives traders Tuesday deadline. This is by the Chief Executive of AMA, Mr. Michael Kpakpo Alote. And MPP bans internal campaigns until nominations open by their General Secretary and will improve road networks, President Mahama. I will start with the get off pavements, footbridges. I think it's a good call. It's also a story I've been following. And there was a back and forth even with GPRTU. I think GPRTU was one of the bodies that complained about selling on pavements and how it's causing congestion. It's terrible. Everyone has.
Do you know that as young as I am, every year I hear of stories like this. It just keeps recurring. Why can't we find a permanent solution to this problem? Then every year you hear stories, and then when you go and sack them, then they're lamenting that that's how they make ends meet. And hey, Ghana for.
But, you know, they have a right to earn their keep, just as we do. But the law also has to be enforced. Now, there are many places that have been reduced to one-way paths, and it shouldn't be so. And now, even the one-way, when you're passing through, people have to part for you to pass through. Everywhere has become a market.
Case in point, La Paz. My goodness.
Yes.
I was trying to get to Achimota through La Paz. I missed the Akwete Mountain, so I had to go, hey, there's no space. So you are competing with human beings and all sorts of things on the road that is supposed to be for the cars to move on. And I'm asking myself, and I saw policemen standing there. They were just looking on, unconcerned.
They'll arrest you if you don't have motor.
Yeah, but the real thing they should be,
Roadway.
sorting out for us, that one there.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. In the past, there was a time when the army was brought in to get the traders off the pavements. They came back. There was a time when even the Navy, I was saying, why bring the Navy to? And they came back. So, but the law still has to be enforced and a permanent solution has to be found. As much as I have no evidence, sometimes I believe that the local authorities may be in cahoots with them. And apparently, they even take tolls from them to sell on the pavements. Why take tolls from somebody who's doing something illegal in the first place? So it does start from our local authorities. But I think the chief executive, he seems to be doing a good job so far. Hopefully, a permanent solution will be found. I heard them say that they're going to find markets for them to sell, but the markets are not ready yet. But that does not mean that they shouldn't be moved. Everyone has a right to a livelihood, but it doesn't mean you should sell on the pavements. It's not good for safety. It's not good and for themselves. And then we also have NPP bans internal campaigns until nominations open. I think it's a good call because democracy means that it is the political parties who eventually come to power. And when a party has a strong internal democracy, when things are done fairly, when there's integrity on the party level, it reflects in governance eventually. So banning these internal campaigns until nominations open is a good thing, because if you don't start from the ground at the party level, on the national level, there's going to be mayhem, there's going to be disregard for the electoral laws of the country. So it's a good call by the General Secretary. And finally, we'll improve road networks. And interestingly, this morning I was thinking about the Bole Bamboy Road as far back as 2004, when I was doing my national service. I used to use that road very often. And until my national service time, I didn't envisage that there was a road as bad as that in the country. I mean, the bus, whether STC or I used to go by STC, could tilt to such an extent that you think it's going to fall. And sometimes at a point, we'll have to stop because the hatches which had our bags had opened along the way, and we'll all have to walk back and go and pick our bags, because our bags had fallen out of the bus.
Wow. But
eventually...
What an experience.
The last time I used that road was 2020, and driving on it, I was amazed. So, and coincidentally, that was the president's seat then, when he was in Parliament.
Okay.
But with time, that road was improved. And to me, the last time I used it, it's still one of the best roads in Ghana. So improving road networks is very, very important. It has benefits for everything, getting foodstuffs to where they are needed. So in improving them, I think a lot more attention should be given to the areas where we get our food, where the farms are. Indeed, there's been a lot of concentration in the cities and all that, but we should try and also think of the hinterlands and other places. So
in fact, by extension, think of Africa. I was listening to Professor Douglas Boateng 2 days ago, and he talked about how if we don't fix or connect African countries, AfTA is useless.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, the goods and services that need to be, we are trading, moving from one country to the other. If there are no roads to connect us, to actually help us move, then what are we talking about? So yeah, I think it's a good call. You can reflect on his stories briefly before we get into your paper, Andrew.
Yeah, I think for the MPP one, they don't.
You won't touch it because you are from Movements for Change? Or
oh, not necessarily. They should do with them. But I think the get of pavements, footbridges, brings to the fore again the need for us to enforce local governance in this country. Because in my view, I always say this: real governance is done at the local, at the local level. And I think to achieve the goal of having a government that is not just by the people but also of the people, then we can use this as when we enforce or when we empower local governors. Then I think it will be in the best position to deal with some of these issues. You made a very good point. They come up. I think the reason why they fail ultimately is because I'm sure there'll be an order from above that, listen, take your time, otherwise we may lose what's called political and so we should draw a line. Yeah. I'm praying that this one will allow the AME boards and all the local assemblies to work. And beyond that, the government will enforce our ambition of having proper local governance, because that's where real governance is done. We need to decentralize the system. Otherwise, we will struggle to benefit from a democracy. And also, you see, it's one thing saying you are going to enforce the law, but you have not provided markets, you have not provided, how are they going to make honest living? So we should be pleased. Some of these things are real.
Right.
When we do proper fiscal decentralization, the local assembly will be in a position to provide some of these spaces for honest Ghanaians to make a honest living. So yes, we need to enforce the law, but we must also just oppose that against what the state itself is also aiding them to fulfill their economic ambitions.
But I also think that even if we had the spaces for them, if we had the infrastructure, some people will still leave the markets areas or stores and go to the streets. Kaneshi was one. I grew up in Kaneshi. I went to Odome Junior High School. So I saw where we had market stalls and all that. Well-built market structure. You know Kaneshi? Yes, you go out on that footbridge and every day there are people there. So I think it's a fine intersection between what government can do and also how we enforce that. Whether or not you have the infrastructure, you should not sell here.
Fantastic point. But the point is, unless you have provided the markets,
you can't complain.
Then you can't make that the second argument. Okay. But if the markets are having provided, then also on all fours with you. We have given you market. We'll go there. But if you have not provided them with markets, or find strategy, not necessarily the state yourself doing that. Right now we have PPP, or you find a way of attracting private investments into market infrastructure. And how can you fault them?
Okay, Prof. Vicky Bright said that Ghana, we have beautiful laws, but it's always about implementation and enforcement.
I mean, you sum everything up. When I saw the story, yes, the rest of the story we can discuss those ones later, but the other one marks de-congestion, and that's by the AMA boss. My issue is, he'll be able to start. Will he be able to sustain? That is where the issue is. We've had a lot of AMA boards who have started this before. And the market folks, they are sophisticated. They know. They know that when any government takes over, for the first 4 months, 6 months, they'll do anything that they want to. They'll leave them. And they'll come after them after 4 or 5 months. They are aware what they are going to do.
So it's just a cycle. It's just a system.
I don't know when we're going to have a solution. But you see, Sweetie, it will get to a point time in our country that on our roads, drivers will beg people to move out of the road for them to move their cars. I'm telling you.
Drivers will beg pedestrians.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
Now, please, give me.
Yeah, it's happening. My director is just telling me that it happened.
But with yourself, you just give an example.
The La Paz one, Well.
Let's forget about even the main roads.
Oh, I see, like the N1s or the sorts?
They have started bringing chairs and tables.
So, no, yeah, we shouldn't be laughing at this, but I mean, it's funny. We shouldn't be laughing at this.
In the middle of the road, they are going to mount their tables in the middle of the market. And drivers will have to beg. But they say, please, can you move so that I can pass? this is what is going to happen. We have gone to sleep. As if we don't care about what is happening to our country. And I said it the last time, those foreigners who are in our country, look, now you don't have a breathing space when you're in a car.
Yeah.
One will knock the other side of the road, attempt to looking at that. Then another one also. If you are not careful, you lose control.
Hey,
So what is happening? Who is the minister in charge?
Yeah.
You have gone to sleep. So we don't need to even say someone, if you want to go and decongest Accra, don't tell us. Don't bring this to the newspapers. To give ultimatum to do what? Go ahead, it's your job. Go ahead and do it. What do you get out of this if you have a caption like this? Decongestion. You should have started this years ago. We have a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our leaders must help us. Else it will get us. You see, it will one day, someone will run through these kids on the road. We'll sit here and we'll start talking about it again. Why do you wait for something to happen? Left, right, center. Now if you're in your car, you don't have space anymore. You have to attend to other people, the beggars, those who are begging, those who are selling. You turn right, you turn left, you turn right. Every traffic light, you have a problem. And I don't know whether by divine or by any, they know where to get the funds from. They know which traffic light will generate huge money for them. They know.
Oh, well. So this is our country, Ghana. I think that I agree with Andrew Appiah Dankwa. Decentralization is the way to go. Otherwise, local governance just gets lost in all the chaos of national politics and, you know, the issues that become political footballs.
Yeah.
The real development at the grassroots is neglected, you know. And that's not something that should happen to our country, Ghana. Anyway, let's get into the daily graphic now.
Yeah, so I think the headline there is Ghanaian theatre goes global. Ghana must go response to big push initiative. And there's Akimoda Primary School ransacked, roofing sheets, fittings, burglar proof stolen. Then there's national security mission details in kidnapped women's case. I think let me read the Ghanaian theatre goes global. So Ghanaian creative production outfit Globe Productions has launched an audacious initiative to take compelling and authentic Ghanaian stories to theatres across the globe. With the support of the Ministries of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts and the Foreign Affairs, Globe Productions will stage fascinating and hilarious plays of Ghanaian stories in Africa, Europe, Asia and America on a roadshow dubbed Ghana Must Go. The global campaign under the Big Push Ghana project and the major activation of the Black Star Experience launched by the government will combine entertainment, culture, business, and diplomacy to position Ghana as the premier destination for investment and tourism. Okay. Yeah.
I know Globe Production, Latif Abubakar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does great work. Yeah. I worked closely with him too.
Well, I hope he succeeds. Because if there's one thing theatre does, or a strong film industry does, or if you manage to break through, it's the best avenue to sell your country.
True.
Where America has probably foisted their culture on the whole world because of
Hollywood.
Yeah, son, children in this country, everybody wants to eat what's called
pizza and burger and all that.
I'm sure the day McDonald's will come and people will go and kill.
And what stories are we telling about our country to the rest of the world?
So we must go and tell. We are a fantastic country. We always hold the position that Ghana, beyond this being the best part of the world in terms of the geography, the quality of, we also have about the best human beings. In my view, during the Dirty December experience, when people, the warmth of the people, the intelligence of the people, the wit of the people, that's not. So there's so much about Ghana that the world needs to know, and I think what's called film or movies will be a very fantastic avenue to sell Ghana, the good bits of Ghana, to the world, and I understand their focus is to help attract investments and also tourism. And I think it's a fantastic initiative. the government must help them in any way they can, because like I said, one way in which America has conquered the world is through their movies. They foisted their culture, their way of life on all of us by way of their movies. So there's a way, if Ghana can, through movies, tell the world about the wonderful people here, why not? So I think it's a very good initiative, and I pray that government supports them and then they find their way there.
Please, before you move on, I have a question. Do you think that we are warmer to foreigners than ourselves, or you think we are just very, good and welcoming, warm and welcoming people?
I think Ghanaians are really warm.
To each other? Are we that nice to ourselves?
Generally.
Really?
Yeah, I think just get a breakdown somewhere, and the natural willingness of the Ghanaian to come to your aid. We are allowing very useless things like the politics.
This is right.
And they do it for free when they come and help you.
They do for free, and also, you see, and the Ghanaian also majority after they've gotten help, without the people even asking, people offer to also give them something. There's something very positive about the Ghanaian. That
okay, let me rephrase this question, because you're saying exactly what I want what you're saying, but you see, when your car breaks down, it is strangers that come to you to come and help you. The same way we are nice and warm to foreigners because they're strangers. Your own people, as Ghanaians, are they the same? Do they treat you the same way?
Yes, I'm saying so generally.
Because I've sat in rooms where I hear people talk about, quote, the hate, among ourselves. We don't like to cheer each other on. They call something PhD. I keep hearing these things, and I think I have some few experiences that will feed into that narrative. So I just want to actually...
See, my personal view is that...
Let's discuss it.
My personal view is that the Ghanaian is warm, and that the right circumstances, the Ghanaian will help you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we have a system that is anti-business. When we say we have a system, government, I shouldn't mince words. The biggest problem in this country is the government, is the politicians. So you've created a situation where, in spite of the warmth, we are chasing over very scarce resources. And did you hear about people in the Igbo, in Eastern Nigeria, during their civil war, actually becoming cannibals, all of us?
Yeah.
And the very scarce resources, we can all become cannibals. But if we have a government that creates a system where we can create wealth, then that warmth, that's, in my opinion, I need goodness in Ghanaians. We even come to the fore. But right now, you've created a situation where all of us are chasing our very scanty resources. Then the negative bits will come. But I think that generally there's this warmth about Ghanaians that any proactive government should be able to tap in and create a great nation. We have everything to be one of the greatest nations on this world. If the politicians can see beyond their parochial interests and look at the greater good, then these negativities, as in the so-called negativities, will be filtered away. But unfortunately, we all chase after very small resources. So if Prof is going to take that small resource,
they want to pull him down so that we will go there.
So we should use the powers we have, as those in political, to create a society, a system, where the talents, we are very talented also, we can make economic gain. Then when that is done, then you see the warmth, the goodness of Ghanaians even go to a greater level.
Prof, do you agree?
Yeah, to a large extent, but some areas I don't.
Let's hear you
Especially in business and economic-related matters. We are not nice to each other. We are not. They're pulling down too much. Look at some of the businesses in Ghana established by our own indigenous people with their own resources, their own investments. Go online and see comments about the same people. Just suppose say the same to other foreign companies. We hardly talk about those institutions. I can give you countless of those companies in Ghana that have gone through some of this. XML's deal, the Zoom Lion issues, and
the salt guy in Nada, also another one. I've forgotten his name.
Same scarce resources.
You know?
The same scarce resources.
Invested their own funds. Some of them had gone to bank to borrow to set up businesses. And we have our own folks who get up, write articles, send them to other places, and bad comment, bad publicity. At the end of the day, they lose contracts. Ghana here and beyond. And we don't know what we are doing to our people. So yes, to some extent, when you have issues. In fact, if you walk through the streets of Accra and you have a problem, you don't need someone. You don't need to call someone. Once you stand on the roadside with your car, they will help you. You have countless of people who come and help you fix your problem. That one we know. But when you are becoming, I mean, you have that resources to set up businesses, and you're booming and you're doing well. That is where the PhD will come in.
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kwame, let me hear you out on this point,
Well,
and then we
you
go
know,
on.
I think by nature, Ghanaians are warm, welcoming. But due to the scarce resources, sometimes...
Why are we attributing our bad character to scarce resources?
Our philosopher said,
sometimes the survival instinct...
Yeah.
The survival instinct sets in. It is not that people don't want others to succeed.
so why did you do this to the foreign companies?
I think I mentioned previously.
You see?
You know
Because
why-
they are foreigners. Why don't we treat them the same way?
No, because
Foreigners.
they are going back, you know, and
don't have a lot of
there's
resources.
this thing about...
You don't have scarce
You can't take
resources.
2% loan in the country. How can you do that? There's nothing you can do.
You know, and a lot of, and of course, sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. I mean, human nature is complex. And I mentioned in a previous edition of this show about how a foreigner who lived in Ghana, Thailand, and Singapore for a long time said that Ghana's problem is that a lot of the individuals, we have the mindset of the baobab, whereas in Thailand and Singapore, they have the mindset of the mango. The baobab tree, when it becomes established, it grows and then it takes all the nutrients and everything around them dies. But the mango tree, when it grows, its fruits actually drop from the tree onto the ground. So he said that there's an inbuilt philosophy, or maybe a taught philosophy in Thailand, Singapore, and those places, where when someone prospers, they make sure all those around them prosper. But sometimes when a Ghanaian prospers, I don't think it's out of greed, sometimes it's out of fear. It could
What are
be
we
greed
so
too,
afraid of?
because we are afraid of ourselves. Because a lot of times when a Ghanaian prospers, they think of prospering alone or together with their family. Because the fear is when their neighbor prospers, then their neighbor becomes a baobab tree. That will sap them. But the thing is, we are selfless when it comes to the little things. Changing your tire. And there was one situation that moved me to tears. These same boys who rush to clean your windscreen, and during the June 3rd flood, that night I was driving in town, and around the Tesano, Papaya, Apenkwa.
Yeah.
I was there, and my car was swaying. It was terrible. And then I got to a portion of, I think, Fadama, and those street boys, you know, there are some very big gutters there. And the water level was so high that you cannot see where the gutter starts and ends. And they had lined up on the road in their boxer shorts and vests, making an artificial barrier so that nobody will go into the gutters. I mean, these are the same boys that will come out of our cars and then tell them, why are you cleaning my windscreen? But that night they stood in the rain, formed a human chain so that nobody would. So when it comes to those things, the Ghanaian will lay his life down for you. But when it comes to some other things, and I think it's just, it's human nature, and it's something we consciously have to teach in our schools and in our societies, that just as you lay down your life for your fellow Ghanaian for the small things, lay down your life for him for the big things also.
So, Mrs. Philosopher, how do we change the narrative? How do we change that attitude and character that we have when it comes to the business and the economical, the more prosperous things that we don't like to see our
from our
neighbor
homes,
win?
From our churches, our schools, it's everywhere. But it should start primarily from the home. Because sometimes some of the churches also, the message is such that it breeds a bit of suspicion and protect what you have. And sometimes in school too, the competitiveness that is taught. So you are taught to be either first or last. I remember a colleague of mine a friend of mine.
I'm sorry, we have to wrap this up. Yeah.
So he was last in class, and his father asked him, I can't mention this, his father was a big man. Why were you last? He said, but if I'm not last, whose child
should be last? Oh.
You see? So,
sacrificial lamb.
And now he's doing very well.
Okay.
You know, he's a big man now, but he had that selfless mindset, even though he was wasting his father's school fees. So we should also not go that competitive. It shouldn't be all about competition. It should be about cooperation, how we move forward as classmates, so even our whole educational system, everything has to, to take away that competitiveness.
Okay, thank you. No, we didn't finish. Do you have, maybe let's do one more story from the Daily Graphic.
Oh, you want one more story?
National
Security Rescue Mission. Akimoda, which one do you think it is? They are both important, but...
Oh, Akimoda.
Okay. Akimoda, okay.
You want Akimoda? You don't want national security. The kidnappers are
wild. Should we put it to a vote?
The kidnappers are wild. You have no idea.
Which one do you prefer?
I want to listen to the...
National security. Okay, then Akimoda is one.
Because you are talking about education. You see, that is a root. That is a...
Without security education doesn't... A bizarre operation. So Akimoda Primary School ransacked, roofing sheets, fittings, burglar proofs stolen. Wow. A bizarre operation by an unknown entity has resulted in the removal of the entire roofing sheets of the Akimoda St. Andrew's Anglican Primary B School in the Birmingham Central Municipality, leaving the classroom at the mercy of the weather. The perpetrators of the dastardly act also removed the burglar proof and electrical fittings from the classrooms, office, store, and staff common room. A 9-seater water-closet toilet facility constructed by the immediate past Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Asla Osu Ekofo, for the staff and pupils of the school was also not spared, as the assailants disrupted the sewage system by stealing the electrical cables, switches, and so what? No.
And I don't they don't see the But what is this?
The scarce resources.
Resources are scarce and people are just and there's no...
Do they realize that it's the students that are going to suffer?
And there's no security. It's sad.
Please let me hear you out on this, Kwame Nkrumah.
I mean, this is one of the things that we are talking about. What have these innocent primary school children done? You see, so
clearly the beef is with somebody else, not the students, but they're the ones going to suffer.
So they'll grow up with this mistrust. I mean, who does this? Who does this? I mean, in a civilized society, I haven't heard of something. I haven't heard of something like this happening in the UK, or they have their own problems. But you don't go to a primary school and do that to these innocent children. I hope the perpetrators are captured. And these are the people that we should be making examples of. Sometimes our priorities are misplaced. Without going into too much detail, we go after people because they seem to be displaying that they have this or they have that. You understand me?
Yeah.
Whereas we should be going after those who are taken from those who don't have already.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope these people are...
Thank you. Prof, you wanted to go to Akimoda.
Oh, I'll leave Akimoda now because, I mean, it's sad to have such stories captured in a national newspaper.
But where was security?
Where?
Security. Because trust me...
I don't think anyone is guarding that.
Without security, without security, what people can do. Because see, when you go into you say philosophers, so when you go to a philosophy before we even have governments in the first place, it was a belief that, listen, if you leave man in a natural state, and it's very brutal, it's very and short. And that's why we do, and that's why we created government, this kind of government. So that was our biggest problem is that we've given our powers to some governments, and they are not playing their role. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah. Anyway, let's spend the rest of the time on the Ghanaian publisher.
Yeah, the Ghanaian publisher, I think about 4 different stories here. The first one is on page 2. Man challenges CJ's removal process, and that is also on page 2. BOG cuts Adongo to size. That's page 3 of the paper. Over reckless non-dollar at the counterclaim. Then we have on page 5, does Ghana truly need a national carrier and that's by Joyce
Yeah.
Tariq. He writes that one. Then we have in page 8, Samaria Literature Prize opens 2025 entries. I think we can leave the CJ. It's been overflowed. Headline throughout the week, last month, and all that. That of BOG cuts Adongo to size. You see the man in terms of his stature, and then you write this heading, cut to size. It's interesting. What is the issue here? I'm sure he happens to be a member of parliament. Is he still a member of parliament?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's
A
on
board
the board
member
of
BOG.
Yeah.
Makes statements that there won't be, if you have dollars in your account, you can't go to bank and then go withdraw your funds. Now BOG comes in and then refutes his claim. That's why they cut him to size. But you see, we don't understand some of these comments when we make them.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we enjoy such comments when they are not based on fact. I don't know where you heard this from. And this is what we are reading.
Actually, it was an interview with Evans Mensah when he said that. And he pushed. He insisted that he was right. That you can't get dollars. You watched it. You can't get dollars at the counter. I was watching, I was telling myself, when did that happen? So I went online quickly to actually find a fact for myself. I realized I didn't find anything. So when BOG actually came out, I thought, so perhaps that's the cutting to size.
Well, look at the size of this man. You can't use it. But at least, he's a board member of BOG.
Yeah. Misinforming the public.
BOG wanted to do something like that, and he came out and said that without having the authority to do that. We don't know. But when you speculate, of course, speculation is allowed in the market that we find ourselves. But the point is that go and check his statement, before his statement, and after his statement, and when BOG reacted, to tell you the change in the dollar.
Oh.
Speculation.
Oh.
Speculation.
Wow.
And you see, we have to be careful with our comments. We might not have dollars, just like our brother who was giving dollars and all that. We don't. We all have cedis.
Prof, I put it to you, you have dollars?
No, I don't have. I mean, a teacher need the other day. I don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
But the point is that
We all don't have. Or you have.
no, you have. I don't have.
We all don't have.
My dollars will be in heaven. You see, go and check.
Are you saying it's deliberate to trip the market?
I'm sure sometimes people do this to make gains in the market. And when you start speculating this, there will be a change. And I think there was a Minister of Finance, I don't know which, the MP, whether General Paul saw sometime in Parliament. Those days, dollar the dollar will be increased, the dollar will increase.
Yeah.
And it was having effect in the market. So I don't know why we for this, speculation. So, good initiative from BOG. Now, I think they have been proactive in terms of their dealings. They've responded, and now we are calm.
Right.
Does Ghana truly need a national career?
I think that will be our last story.
Last story. Interesting story. In fact, I don't know if I have joined any demonstration before. I can't count, but I'm sure my school days at KVAS, maybe I joined one when I wanted to change the grade. From 70 to 80, I joined.
Okay.
But if you're going to have any demonstration in Ghana, I think I'll join this demonstration. A call to have a national career.
Okay.
So you are 4.
You are 4.
I'm 4.
Okay.
In a call. And I'm happy the government has inaugurated
Yes.
a 10-member committee to consider this proposal.
All right.
Ghana spent over 1.5 billion on air. On traveling, because we don't have the national career. In Africa, aviation supports about 7.7 million in terms of jobs and other areas. If you look at the figures for IATA, I think 2023, from Ethiopian Airlines, they get about $4.something billion only on air. I mean, their national carrier.
Yeah.
Why do we as a country lose about 1.5 billion national on our travelers? And for where we find ourselves, for me, it is not just flying the national flag in the air. It is about economic, strategic reasons, job creation. It is about using our position in Africa, where we find ourselves, we can connect to other parts of Africa and the world.
Yeah.
That's why we have to leverage on what we have.
All right, Prof.
If we do this, I'm sure the country, we can save a lot in terms of revenue.
Thank you all so much. I'll give you 30 seconds each to give me your final words. Kwame Nkrumah, you go first.
The city is 60 years this year. The CPP being the mother of this country, the party that actually birthed this country, would want the city to be the strongest currency that it can be. However, that cannot be done without the input of Ghanaians. And the party would want Ghanaians to be as patriotic as they can be, pay your taxes, even go beyond your taxes. Whichever way you can contribute your quota to help the country to pay its debts, especially in the energy sector. Little drops of water make a mighty ocean. Do not think that what you have will not make a difference. It will make a difference. And do not think about whether the state will misuse it or not, because people pay their tithe offerings, people give to their various religious bodies, but they don't ask what it's going to be used for. So
right.
Let's be patriotic citizens. Let's pay our taxes.
Let's not be spectators, huh?
Exactly.
Andrew Appiah Danquah,
In fact, I think...
final word.
So my final word is, only Ghanaians can build this country. We need leadership and all, but we also need a citizenry that will participate, that will hold political leadership accountable. That's the only way in which we can receive the blessings of this constitutional democracy. I think we've shown a bit of that spirit in how Ghanaians have handled some of the potential scandals that have come to the fore. Let us run this up. Let us tap into the spirit of patriotism, like Kwame Nkrumah is saying. Let us build a strong Ghana that can take its place once again as the Black Star of Africa.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, in fact, from all the stories I've read, they all bordered around revenues and all that. And I'm here, I have a story on SME generates about 2 billion for Ghana in 4 years.
20? I see 20
20
billion.
billion Ghana cedi for Ghana in 4 years. In fact, we've been talking about revenue leakages, and on coming Monday,
Yes.
UPSA, I'm sure you are one of the MCs
Yeah.
for the program, we'll be having a national dialogue on tax revenue leakages. And we have a good story to tell on SML.
So we will tell it on Monday.
Yeah.
And this is a celebration coming from Benjamin Akakpo. He says, happy birthday to the best, and the best of wishes from Benjamin Akakpo, Nelly Ajiman Jemfi, and the whole Ajiman family to Joseph Kwesi Ajiman, a.k.a. J.K. Ajiman, former president of the Ghana Bar Association. We thank God for 92 years He has blessed you with. We pray for grace, favor, long life, good health, and everything that is excellent for you. Happy birthday, sir. Salute. And it's also the birthday of Rhoda Miller of the Super Morning Show. May God richly bless you and keep you. May He order your steps and grant you the grace to excel in everything you do. Happy birthday, Rhoda. And this is also coming from my producer, Kingsley Otu. Happy birthday to Mrs. Cecilia Yaba, coming from your lovely sons, Eugene, Kwamina, Godfred, and all your loved ones. May God bless you and grant you long life to reap the fruits of your labor. And on that note, we end the news review segment, and a lot coming your way today. Benjamin's blunt thoughts, Noella Karim's e-corner, and the director is playing the music so I can go. So off we pop. We'll be back later.